All right. That was some more Comden footage, vacation footage, and they ended up in the Outer Banks, Kill Devil Hills in North Carolina. I know that place very well. Sandflies and mosquitoes, that's what I remember about that experience. I'm Skip Elsummer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old educational films and 16mm films, and that was some home movies that were on 16, and that's part 3. I think we'll watch the rest of it tomorrow. Not sure. Anyways, so I've been doing some work with some Library of Congress, National Archives materials, and here's Snuffy, who you might not know about. Snuffy is part of the Smokey the Bear cinematic universe and was forgotten. Enjoy.
Yes, I'm Snuffy. The forest ranger lives with me. I help him guard the forest against fire. Sometimes we drive to town together. I like that, because then I get to see my pal Smokey. As you know, Smokey prevents forest fires everywhere. I help Smokey prevent them on my forest. Whenever I see Smokey, I renew my pledge to be his helper. People often stop at the ranger station and ask where they can have a picnic. The ranger shows them the picnic grounds. I like boys and girls, and I usually go along. You see, I want to be sure they don't start a forest fire. It doesn't take kids long to unpack the car and start roasting those, pardon the expression, hot dogs. A good woodsman keeps his fire small and builds it in the fireplace when one is provided. When folks are careful, I enjoy watching them have a good time. Many people are careful. And they leave a clean camp. When they go away, I run to say goodbye to the boys and girls. Sometimes a grown-up is in a hurry to get home. He forgets that his lighted cigarette is a dangerous weapon and can start a terrible fire in my forest. They ride away so fast, sometimes it's hard to stop them. Then I have to do the job myself. I have to stop that hot cigarette from starting a fire. I scratch and chew it until I'm sure it's out, dead out. That's how I keep my promise to Smokey. But remember, people like you must help us. So please do as Smokey says.
Be careful. With matches, with smokes, with campfires, with every fire. Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
Oh, I'm confused, all right. Part of it is, one, you've got Smokey Bear. What do you need Snuffy for? Like, you've got a bear who is the forest fire bear. Like, why do you need to create this other character? I'm very confused by all this. The other thing is, the voices, yes, are all wrong. The voice for Smokey the Bear is not, it should be deeper, more baritone, like a James Earl Jones type, rest in peace, type of person. And that was too, I don't know, it's too high register. Also, Snuffy was, yeah. There was a lot of problems with that film. A lot of problems. Don't get me started. Let's learn about copper mining and smelting. Enjoy.
The earth is a rich and vast storehouse. From it come all the materials that we use. One of the most important of these materials is copper. Without copper, our modern world as we know it could not exist. Copper is found in many places throughout the world, but perhaps the largest single copper mining operation known is this open pit mine at Bingham, Utah, in the United States. To uncover the ore, it is necessary to blast down and haul away mountains of earth that lie on top of it. To prepare for blasting, workmen first drill vertical holes. The steel drill has a hole down its center, coming out at the bit. Water passes through this hole to keep the bit cool as it grinds its way through earth and solid rock. When the drilling is done, a long blowpipe is dropped into the hole. Air under pressure is blown in, shooting out all water, mud, and loose dirt, leaving the hole clean and ready to be loaded with dynamite. Horizontal holes are drilled in the same way. Explosions in these holes cut out the bottom of the walls to keep them even. Explosions in the vertical holes blow down the great masses of earth and on lower levels of ore. Vertical holes are loaded with granulated dynamite. It is poured and tamped tightly to the bottom. Stick powder is used in the horizontal holes. About 375 pounds of powder are loaded into each one. It also is tamped solidly to the end. And now, blasting time. After blasting, the great power shovels go to work to haul away the earth that covers the ore. Trains of empty 100-ton cars are run into the blasted down sections, and the shovels begin loading. 125 cars of earth are moved to every 100 cars of ore. As the levels of the pit are blasted back, railroad tracks must be moved back also to bring the empty cars alongside the shovels. This track mover picks up both itself and the track and jolts over sideways to the new position. In the lower section of the pit, ore is loaded. The ore rock is grayish in color, but only 1 cent copper. Sometimes you find richer pieces with so much copper mineral you can see it in the rock. As the cars are loaded, they move out of the pit and are coupled with others to make up a single long train. Then they head for the mill. Arriving here, the train is split up, and a few cars at a time are backed into the tipple for dumping. 2 cars move on and are turned upside down. The larger chunks of ore are caught and broken by this big crusher. The smaller pieces go right on through. Then the ore moves on conveyor belts from one crusher to another, being ground into finer and finer pieces. Finally, it reaches these great steel drums, or ball mills. Each drum contains 22 tons of steel balls, which grind the ore until it becomes almost like powder. New balls are added every day. And when they come out again, they're almost worn away. In these ball mills, too, water is mixed with the ore, which now is so fine and powdery, it makes the water muddy and thick as it leaves the big drums. Chemicals that make froth are added next. Ore particles containing copper stick to the frothy bubbles which rise to the top of the water. This is called the flotation process, because the powdery particles containing copper, known as copper sulfide, actually float to the top with the bubbles. Now this froth is drawn off the top, while the mud and waste are drawn off underneath and carried out to this dump, which covers 7.5 square miles. The copper sulfide is removed bubbles by these disc-shaped canvas filters. Strong suction causes the sulfide to stick to the canvas as it rotates through the bubbles. Next, the suction is changed to pressure, and the sulfide falls off. It is now copper concentrate, 30% pure copper. From the mill, the concentrate goes to the smelter, where it will be made 99% pure copper. Here it is emptied from the railway car by this big shovel. Other ores containing silica, iron, sulfur, and other minerals must be added to the copper concentrate before smelting to make it heat and burn more rapidly. Here a carload of these ores is dumped. After the ores have been added to the copper concentrate, the mixture is hauled to the roaster. Now the heating and burning process begins. Sulfur burns first. That is what you see here. From the roaster, the ore mixture, now called calcines, goes to the great furnaces, where for the first time it becomes hot enough to melt. These furnaces reach almost 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit. In its molten form, the copper ore mixes with other elements such as iron, silica, and lime to form what is called copper matte and slag. The slag is waste. It is hauled out and dumped. The molten mass cascades down the side of the dump like lava from a volcano. Back inside the smelter, the molten copper matte is drawn from the great furnaces in huge buckets, handled by overhead cranes. It is now dumped into the converters. This long section of the smelter is called the converter aisle. It is filled with noise, smoke, and heat. In the converters, air is blown through the molten mixture to help burn out impurities. Finally, there remains the molten copper, approximately 99% pure. It also contains small quantities of precious metals, such as gold and silver. Now the molten metal is poured into molds to form ingots of blister copper. They are cooled by streams of water. They come out of the bath still steaming and too hot to touch, except with hooks and asbestos gloves. Workmen load the blocks, weighing 500 pounds each, onto hand trucks and take them immediately into waiting boxcars, where they are to be shipped to refineries for further processing. After this refining has been done, the copper will be made into telephone cables, electric wires, copper sheets, wrappings for motor generators, and 1,000 other items that serve you and your home every day. As you pick up your telephone, start your vacuum sweeper or food mixer, remember that it is copper, coming from the great storehouse of earth that makes possible these useful items around your home. Copper is the servant of our electrical age.
Wow. So some of you noticed, like, wow, it seems like very contrasty, where the colors are a little on the high end and the shadows are very, very dark. And that is what happens when someone shoots Kodachrome, edits, and then bumps it back out to Kodachrome, and they're not paying attention to the levels, because Kodachrome is very thick, and if you have something in the shadows, you really have to illuminate it to get it to shine through. And if you're not paying attention to that, you might blow out the color. And this is where HDR, high dynamic range scanning, sometimes can help. But again, Kodachrome, like I said, it's beautiful, but if you're in the shadows, forget it. It's not going to work. What do we got here? Who cops out?
Who makes it and who doesn't make it? It seems a game, like a trick of fate. But really it's more than that. The best time of your life, the years from 15 to 18. Happy time, swinging time, blossom time. You'll never be this pretty again. You'll never be this sharp again. This is the youth that poets sing about, that playwrights praise, that painters love to draw. This is adolescence, the best time of your life. Says who? Say adults. Say people who can't remember the pain of adolescence. The doubts, the indecisions, the fight against temptation. The courage that it takes to take one step after another into manhood or womanhood. Today, more and more young people are running into trouble. Part of it is luck, part of it is circumstance. The breaks, the people you happen to know. But a bigger part seems to be something inside you, your own thing. Kids do have some say in what they make of themselves. More to say, in fact, than they think. How much is choice? How much is chance? Why stick with the system? Or why cop out? What part of action is accident? What part has been thought out with the cool, sharp-eyed logic of youth?
Aren't you frightened?
Why should I be frightened? Babies are born every other second.
But you're still a kid. You're still in school.
So what? My grandmother had 2 kids by the time she was my age.
Well, she was married, wasn't she?
What difference does that make in the delivery room?
Well, she had someone to take care of her and to take care of the baby.
I'll be all right.
What about school and all that?
So what? All they can do is kick me out. Besides, I don't think I'll pass English this year anyway.
What about the boy? Will he marry you?
Who wants a 16-year-old husband?
But you must like him.
Well, I liked him, but I don't want to be married to him.
Then why did you get pregnant?
Well, I didn't do it on purpose, did I?
But you know about the pill?
So I didn't happen to have it. It's not cheap, you know.
Does your mother know yet?
No, but she will. And maybe she'll find out that she can't keep pushing me around.
What do you mean?
Well, that's what makes a grown-up woman, isn't it? Making love, having a baby. It's not learning math or writing an English composition. And at 16, you're old enough to be a woman.
Well, maybe it wasn't an accident.
Well, how do I know what it was?
Some people don't want to know why they do certain things. They'd like to call it luck or accident, so that they are not absolutely responsible for their troubles. Others can face reality. Hey man, nice play. How long was your pass?
About 40 yards, I guess.
That's pretty good for a schoolboy.
Not nowadays. I can do better.
You like football?
I love it. I just live for it.
How do you like school?
I hate it.
What do you mean?
Well, my grades aren't very good. I just about scraped through.
Then why are you here?
Well, like I said, I drop out, I don't play ball.
So how do you get through your courses?
Well, I have to work a little harder than the other kids. So I hire a tutor in math. That's my worst one.
What does that cost you?
About $5 an hour. And I work for a furniture mover on Saturdays.
Is playing ball really that important to you?
Sure, man. It's the only thing I'm really good at. If it wasn't football, I'd just be another dumb cluck in the school.
I see what you mean. When you discover a strength, you never know where it will lead you. This boy's being pulled into life by his muscle. Why not? Hi, Bill. How you doing?
Not bad, man, not bad.
Is it better than school?
You must be kidding. No teachers on my neck, no kids laughing at me. Plus, I get $1.65 an hour.
How much was your take-home pay last week?
About $48, and I'm getting a new car next week.
Can you really afford it?
Hell, man, I'm just beginning. You don't think I'm gonna stay at $1.65? I want to get to be a mechanic. Some of those guys make as much as $7 an hour.
Well, why'd you drop out? Couldn't you learn faster going to an automotive trade school?
Nah, I don't like school. Never did. Not since I've been in. A bunch of bras telling you what to do, how to do it. You feel like a baby all the time. I'm no baby. I'm 16. I can do a day's work. I'm a man.
Well, it's hard for a man to live on $48 a week.
I told you, I'm going to get a raise. The boss promised me one when I first started.
Is he going to get a raise?
Get a raise? Hell no, he's not going to get a raise. He won't even have a job. I'm looking for somebody now to replace him.
What's the matter?
What's the matter? Well, he just can't count. He's no good at figures. Can't make a charge slip out properly.
Can't you help him with the figures?
Hell, I can't help him with the numbers. If he couldn't learn in school with a professional teacher, there's nothing I could do for him.
Some weaknesses come through to plague you forever and ever. The earlier you can begin to do something about them, the better off you are. You can't cop out of everything. Do you hate school, too?
No, not especially.
Going to be a doctor?
Maybe. Who knows?
Don't you know what you want to be?
Man, I'm only 16. My brother's 19 and he hasn't got the faintest. He's in college even.
Why college if he's not headed for a career?
That's the trouble with everybody today.
I don't understand.
Well, everybody thinks of school like it's just a place to get a job.
You mean school has become a kind of a training program?
Exactly. Or earning the right to get in a rat race. Like a license to work in a factory or in an office.
Well, what's the matter with that?
Who needs it? It's bad enough that you have to do it when the time comes. Like going into the army.
Then why do you say school is okay?
Because I'd be bored to death if I wasn't learning anything.
But aren't the courses boring?
Sometimes. When the teachers aren't interested, really. Or the textbooks are stupid or badly written.
I mean the stuff you have to learn.
You must be joking. What's boring about learning something new? What's so dull about a French novel? Or reading Shakespeare? Or doing a physics experiment or playing a math game?
Game?
What else can you call a trig problem? It's like a puzzle.
You make it sound like fun.
It is sort of fun, if you're not sweating about it.
Why do you suppose more kids don't enjoy school?
Maybe they do. But you don't expect them to admit it, do you? You don't think I would if I was on the air.
Yet that's what so many youngsters complain of most, boredom. The phrase is, there's nothing to do. It was boredom that brought Jane all the way from school to this room in San Francisco. Wasn't it, Jane?
I don't know exactly. I just had to get away.
Can you remember why?
Can I? Everybody was hassling me. My mother and my father, my kid brother. It was hell.
What was bothering your parents?
This. I think I was some sort of dope addict or something.
Well, adults are rather frightened about any narcotic.
I'll say, they don't know the difference between skag and speed. You know, you can't get hooked on grass.
That's what some doctors say. At least not in the same way they get addicted to heroin. Have you ever tried LSD?
Once, but I didn't like it. I had a bad trip. That one really scares me. You could really flip out in that.
How did you get started on grass?
Just to pass the time. It was such a drag back in Mountain Grove. You know, you go to the flick, watch the tube, go get a soda, that was it.
How about sports or hobbies?
I'm lousy in sports and I'm just not a knitter by temperament.
What do you do up here?
Friends, parties, it's a different scene.
What do you do all day?
Not much, I sleep late.
What else are you on beside the grass?
Speed once in a while. When I'm really down, it helps me forget.
What do you want to forget?
George mostly, I guess.
George?
He was the boy I was living with. He left because things were getting too serious between him and me. He wanted to be free.
Don't you want to be free?
Yes, that's why I'm here, but
But?
not this free.
There is no single answer. But in every life, a decision is made, and for every negative decision, there is a positive alternative. Often it is hard to know which is which. Sure, adolescence can be the best time of your life, but it is also the time when you are most easily tempted to give up and throw it all away, to hurt yourself before the world hurts you. It's a time when you need common sense and some confidence in yourself. Growing up is a tough business.
So that sounded like Alexander Scorby as the narrator, as the voice of God that was swooping in and asking all these questions. And Alexander Scorby was, what else did he? He did a lot of stuff. He was kind of the Peter Thomas of the late '60s and early '70s, and a great voice for that time. And today we're going to show part 2 of There Was Always Sun Shining Someplace, which is the documentary that was done by another amazing voice, James Earl Jones, who passed a couple of days ago and who we miss. I was hoping to find something that had him in it, physically in it, but I couldn't find anything in my collection. I'm sure there's something out there, but this is about the Negro baseball leagues, and part 1 was awesome, and so here is part 2. Enjoy.
After Satchel Paige, the 2 biggest names in black baseball were James Cool Papa Bell, the game's finest base runner, and Josh Gibson, the black Babe Ruth.
I'll never shall forget this night. I was walking up the ramp with Josh, and one little kid ran up to me, Mr. Gibson, will you give me one of your broken bats? Josh said, son, I don't break bats, I wear them out. And that's how he appeared to do. He'd come up there with, and it seemed as though he was squeezing the sawdust out of the bat.
Of course, Cool, he was the fastest man that ever put on a pair of baseball shoes. He could go around the base in, I think it was 12 and a half or 13 seconds, something like that. But he was really fast. And if he'd get a hard ground where the ball would bounce, he would chop down on the ball and make the ball hop up, and whoever got it, well, they just walk back to the position because he'd be down to first base. If he played on parks like they play now with that AstroTurf, I don't think they ever would get him out.
in Mexico. He was on the same team that I was on. And the first game he played in, he was on first base. The next hitter hit a ball into right field. Cool Papa went to third base so fast they stopped the game. He said he cut across behind the pitcher. He said it's impossible, no puede ser. It just couldn't happen. Nobody could go from first to third that fast.
Now somebody said that he was so fast until he'd turn out the light in the room, he'd be in the bed before it got dark in the room. Now I don't know about that now. That's the one on me, see.
Well, he was in a class by himself running base. Of course, we had 3 outfielders they were fast too. We had a boy named Ted Page and another boy, Jimmy Crutchfield, and Cool Papa Bell, but they would get a ball, well, they were just unbelievable.
Well, I had seen Cool, I knew his reputation, but I always believed that I could play as much outfield as anybody. Now, the Nashville Southern League had a part that was down
in the
valley, in a hole.
He had bank like that one there with a fence that run around the outside.
Right field was way high.
On the hill,
and
it was high up there.
And the right fielder had to be a goat.
You run up
to play that
side of the hill.
Play the side of the hill. So I remember one night we were playing a game. I'm high on this hill, so I can look down at the center fielder. They hit a ball over Cool Papa's head, and at the crack of the bat, boy, I can see Cool running. And he turned just at the right time, picked that ball. I said, well, that stopped me from saying that I could beat Cool playing outfield.
So you couldn't get to the ball as quickly?
I couldn't get to it, no.
But you're a great outfielder, a great ball player.
Who?
You.
Thanks. I'll scratch your back.
The glory of the Crawfords was short-lived. While they dominated the Negro Leagues during the mid-30s, they fell dramatically, not to an upstart Negro League franchise, but to the manipulations of an obscure Latin American dictator, Rafael Trujillo. To bolster his political career, Trujillo sent his agents north in the summer of 1937 to bring back Satchel Paige and later his teammates. The entire Negro League was threatened.
We went down to San Domingo, and one year, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. I like to broke up the Negro League because it's paying good money. It's paying good money down there. I had one of the world's greatest black baseball clubs down there, and we had to win. We didn't know we was playing in politics.
We had, Satchel, Josh, and Cool Papa went to Trujillo City, which at that time was the capital of San Domingo. I think they call it Dominican Republic now. So actually off the Pittsburgh Crawfords, that was 6 of us that jumped. They called it jump in those days, jump the team and leave. See, just because you leave the team after those players leave, naturally the ball club just isn't anything else.
I had played before in Mexico with a great player by the name of Martin de Higa. And he was the manager of this team in the Dominican Republic. And he's the one that's having sent for me.
The president of the team, he gave $100 for every pitcher winning game. And Sachi like a pitcher every game.
He got all the best ball players, he thought. And for him to win, his team to win, that'd give him more prestige.
I said to the president of the team, I want to pitch because Sachi, he want to pitch every week. We have 4 pitchers, so he's ready to pitch every game.
One time we went over there to play him, and you know the ball players used to get together. We're all from the States. We'd go by where the ball players live and kind of socialize a little, talk about old times and things. And we went over there hunting for Satchel and them and couldn't find them. So a little kid on the street, they know all the business. He said, it's down in the carcel. C-A-R-C-E-L, that's jail in Spanish. Trujillo had put them in jail that night before they're going to play us so they wouldn't rouse around.
After the series was over, Cool Papa Bell told me the story. He says the general came up and said, you know, say, look, you play for the presidente. Say, we don't lose. So he's walking around and say he took his big 45 out, boom, boom, down in the, you know, court. Judge says, I said, I wonder if we get the hell out of here. Say, how are we going to get away?
Give us 25 minutes to get together and be on the dock. And we was together in 25 minutes and got us to Puerto Rico. And then a clipper, they come got us, and I never have been back no more outside of that.
The Latin American experience was a crucial event for all the better Negro League players. In Latin America, they earned good salaries and played in an integrated environment. They enjoyed fame and tested themselves against their white Major League counterparts.
I played 12 winters. Puerto Rico, Caracas in Venezuela, Mexico, and Cuba. I was in Puerto Rico in 1935, in the winter of 1935. I would play ball here in the summer and then go down there and play during the winter.
Our whole Pittsburgh Crawford team was invited to play exhibition games in Mexico against some mostly Cuban and Mexican ball players. And the American League sent an all-star team down there, composed of Jimmy Fox, Rogers Hornsby, and a few others.
In 1935, we were down in Puerto Rico playing during the winter. We had an all-star team there. In Cincinnati, the Reds came down there to spring training in the spring of 1936. And they said that we were going to play them a few games after they got in condition. Well, they practiced about 2 or 3 weeks and got in condition, or well, some condition. And we played, and we won 2 out of 3, and they said that they didn't think they wanted to play anymore. In 1945, I was with Jackie Robinson, Campanella, Sam Jethro. All of us had an all-star team to Caracas in Venezuela and played against the local teams. And we were too strong for them, and they told us that we had to lose a few ball games. After we won the first 9, they said that we had to lose 1 or 2. So we told them, no, we weren't going to lose in the ball game, that if we were just too strong for them, well, we would just come on back to the United States. So they took the second baseman and a pitcher and a catcher from us and put on a local team. And we still beat them. And then they said, look, you got to pitch some other pitcher. Don't pitch one of your regular pitchers. And we pitched the third baseman, a fellow named Felton Snow, and we shut him out 4-0. So they said, we know we're going to send you home now, but we did, they sent to Cuba and got a team to come there to play us, and also sent to Mexico, got a team to come there to play us, and we had a pretty fair contest after that. So then in Cuba, in 1939, this is the first time I ever been put out of a ball game. And I was playing first base, and a fella came down to first base, and the umpire called him out, called him safe, and I thought he was out. And I was talking to the umpire in English, and the umpire didn't understand English. He understood Spanish. And he put me out of the ball game and said I called him a word. So I was telling him about, no, I didn't call him a word. So we called the manager over and told him to tell him what I said. He said, I'm afraid to tell him what you said.
The best Caribbean baseball was played in Cuba. The Negro Leaguers and Cubans had a long and lively rivalry in both the States and in the Caribbean. Ted Page recalls one of Cuba's most outstanding pitchers.
Louis Tiant Sr., the old man who was a good left-hander during those years, pitching for the Cubans. He had all the pitches, really, and could throw hard. I had tripled off of him the first time up. I tripled off a curveball. You know, throwing curveball to left-hand hitters is supposed to be, you're supposed to get them out, back them away from the plate, but I guess I pulled right into that one. Next time I came up, he threw me what I thought was going to be a curveball, and I just sort of leaned in on it to wait for it to break, and it broke right up the side of my head. And I still have a clean spot up there now. That no hair has grown back there in 50 years. And I laid right out at the home plate, and they put water on me and trying to get me back to, not to normal, back to life. And I can remember sort of coming back to my senses, and I could hear Tiant say to me, "You know, he'd doubt one too well." And with me lying flat on my back and my head getting bigger and hurting, I thought the best he could do would say, "Are you all right?" The Cubans and the American ball players, we were enemies, bitter enemies, really, on the ball field. At night, afterwards, we were all through, we were best of friends. We played cards together, we do whatever we baseball players do, no problem. But as soon as we got on that ball field, we were bitter enemies.
In the mid-40s, a new threat to American baseball appeared from south of the border.
Mexico offered them such fabulous salaries.
I made so much money, I had a trunk full of them pesos. Look, listen. And when it got to the border, I could put them in my watch pocket here in American currency.
You see, there were two multimillionaires, the Pasquale brothers, I believe their name was. So they got after our Negro players. I didn't feel, first of all, I didn't think I could match the Pasquales. I heard they were multimillionaires, and if we'd ever got in a bidding contest, they would have definitely won. And secondly, I just didn't think it was the right thing to do.
Latin American baseball was an exotic part of the Negro League's story. However, the relationship between the underworld, the gangster world of the black community, and the Negro Leagues was black baseball's most fascinating and unknown chapter. Abe and Effa Manley owned the Newark Eagles, and Abe controlled Jersey City racketeering.
Oh, he was in a 100% illegal business, but the people loved him. He was what is known as a number banker. He had enough money to throw away on investing in something that he wanted to do, which was organize this Negro baseball. And he ended up actually losing, or investing, or I guess that word's all right, $100,000 in the Negro baseball. But he enjoyed it, and we always had a wonderful team.
A lot of our black owners were in number business at that time, and that's how baseball wasn't paying off. But with the side attractions like numbers and piccolos and all like that, and maybe something else, gambling maybe, that's how they helped and was able to take care of baseball. The gate receipts and the other things, of course, you know, wasn't no endorsement, wasn't no television, wasn't no radio or anything like that at that time for black baseball. So they had to have some other side attractions to keep the team going. And because the team didn't make enough to pay out a salary and so forth, buy buses and so forth, so they had to have a little something else going.
In the 1930s, many racketeers owned Negro League teams. Pittsburgh's Gus Greenlee was perhaps the most flamboyant of them all.
I'm always happy to repeat that Gus gave me a job one winter doing just what I'm doing now. I sat in a chair from 11 until about 3 in front of one of his places. I was a lookout, and I got a salary for just sitting on that chair for about 4 hours. All I had to do is if I saw some suspicious-looking people drive up in the car or coming down the street who looks like they might be police, I just pressed the button. And I didn't have to press that button once all winter long. I get $15 a week just to sit in that chair for those 4 hours every day. I thought then that Gus would, well, I knew he was doing me a favor, but I thought, why would Gus do this? And after I had thought about it, Gus did this little chore for me to make sure that I was there for the following spring to play with the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Because I had developed I guess I had allowed a tag to be hung on to me as a guy who would jump from one ball club to another. I was there too for the next spring, which was in 1933.
During the war, many of the big league players entered the military service, and the rosters of the major leagues were filled with 4F players. The contradiction between fighting a war for democracy and living with baseball segregation was highlighted by the wartime slogan, "If he's good enough for the Navy, he's good enough for the majors." Integration was imminent, but segregation still persisted. Negro League veterans like Chet Brewer knew they could make it in the majors.
But I tell you how hard it was. They had the propaganda that no Negro could play in the major leagues or in organized ball. They even went so far, and I'm saying this with no malice, no prejudice, anything, to hire a one-armed white man to play before they'd give a colored man a chance with 2 arms. And everybody out there knows that the only thing that a one-armed man could do as well as a man with 2 arms is to scratch on that side if it was itching.
I never dreamed of getting to play in the major leagues because then it was really a barrier that kept us apart, although they knew that we were good enough.
There's some of us who would like to have had a trial and believe that we could have made the major leagues, some of us.
My first scouting job was with Mr. Connie Mack's Athletics, and we were very good friends, and I asked him one day, I was up the ballpark, why they wouldn't hire some Negroes since we would beat them all the time. He said, well, it's just too many of you boys to go in at once, but that's as far as it got. I realized, though, that I could play big league ball. I knew it.
I remember one Sunday evening we played a doubleheader in Griffin Stadium in Washington, and Clark Griffin asked Josh Gibson and I to come up to his office after the game. We went up and said, you boys like to be in the major league? Yeah. You like to play on the Senator? Yeah. Do you think you could make the team? Well, we'd be out there trying. Then he explained it. He said, well, at this time, don't anybody want to be the first to take blacks into the into the major leagues. Said, but we know you boys can play ball, and we know you can play good baseball. And some of us would like to have you, but the time just hadn't come. And the time had not come.
On October 28, 1945, the barrier fell. Jackie Roosevelt Robinson, a rookie shortstop with the Kansas City Monarchs, was selected by Dodger general manager Branch Rickey to reintegrate baseball.
I think Jackie was an excellent choice because of his intelligence, and put that together with his ability made him a natural, because there are a lot of other great ball players in our league, in our Negro League, but they wouldn't have taken what Jackie did. He was smart enough to know that it would all work out. Some of the others, hotheads, they wouldn't have stood still for it. I don't know if I could have done it or not.
Now, all of us believe, and all of us, most of us who I talk to, think that Jackie was the ideal man to be the first to get into the major league. Now, he wasn't our best baseball player, but we believe he was better, was the best man at that time because he had played with whites in college. He was big, weighed about 205 or 6 or something like that. He was about 6 feet, and he was fast, and he was intelligent. And that went a long way with being the first to be in anything.
He was signed by the Dodgers and sent to Montreal in 1946 to begin his organized baseball career. He constantly improved, and he became a real star, say, in a couple of years for the Dodgers.
For many Negro League owners, Branch Rickey was not a hero.
Mr. Rickey's program was very unfair. After all, he took Jackie Robinson and Don Newcomb and Roy Campanella from our Negro baseball without even saying thank you, let alone answering our letters or giving us any compensation for them.
And for many Negro League players, integration was bittersweet.
When they took him in 1947, I was 40 years old. And I knew I could play Major League ball at that age. Couldn't even hardly play black baseball at that age. And one thing, when you're playing baseball and you get old, the nights are not long enough for you to rest. You're just as tired the next day as you were when you went to bed the night before.
Several of our boys made it to the majors. I know you've all heard of Larry Doby going to Cleveland, and Monty Irvin going to the Giants, and Don Newcomb going to the Dodgers. And there were many, oh, there were so many. We had a third baseman, Ray Dandridge. What a third baseman. He ended up in the minors after the Negro baseball collapsed. And there were about a dozen more of my players that went to the minor league teams took. Of course, they were all getting a little older, but they could still play.
As a few Negro Leaguers slowly trickled into the majors, the Negro League owners finally decided to assert themselves.
When I called Attorney Kessler in and asked him to gamble with me, he agreed he would. And he wrote Mr. Rickey. Mrs. Manley was claiming Monty Irving's contract and so forth. And what did Branch Rickey do? He just wrote Monty that he didn't want him. So you can imagine what the Negro newspapers did to me. Attorney Kessler's first move was to go to the New York Yankees to see if they would take Monty. And they still weren't ready to take the Negro players. They turned him down. So his next move was to go to the Giants. And the Giants apparently felt that it was time to get in on the bandwagon. And they agreed to give me $5,000 for Monty Irvin, which I very gladly took to get the Negro papers off of me.
The golden years of Negro baseball were over.
The fans deserted us. The bottom just dropped out of Negro baseball completely because they wanted to see the Negro ball players on the white teams, and they just deserted us so that I begged my husband that first year to quit, and he wouldn't. He was a born gambler, and it was just a little bit more of a gamble for him. But the second year, he not only realized the handwriting on the wall, and he was ready to quit.
While the younger generation of Negro League players won fame in the major leagues, the old-timers receded into obscurity with only their memories.
It's a good life for us. We're happy when we play, because we have a chance to make money all year. It's different when you work in the other team. When you work in the factory and some place, nobody knows you. But when you play ball, everybody knows. Everybody remembers.
My wife taught school for 50 years, and I played ball winter and summer. I'd go to Cuba and Mexico, Florida, and play winter ball, and she would always stay home and work. And that was the way we made our life. And without her, I'm quite sure I would never have been a ball player. But she kept me with both feet on the ground. She's a great, great woman, great woman.
There remained one final chapter to the Negro League story. Simple justice required that the Negro Leaguers be recognized for their talents. Simple justice required that the very best be included in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
I was inducted the same year along with Jackie Robinson in 1962. It was time. Time was overdue, and they belong there. And I think that it's a shame that he hadn't been able to play in the years gone by, but that's the way our society was at that time. I'm glad any of those inequities have been corrected, and there's no excuse anymore for anyone in this country not to make it as far as they can.
The commissioner said, we met here this morning to make an important announcement. Said the committee has seen fit to select Josh Gibson from the old Negro League to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Said the committee has also seen fit, and when he said it, I started sweating. A sweat was meeting right under there, dropping down on my new suit. Said the committee has also seen fit to select Buck Leonard for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, that was the greatest moment of my life right there.
1971, Satchel Paige. I would tell you if I knew how old he was, but I don't. In 1972, Buck Leonard. In 1974, Cool Papa Bell. In 1975, Judy Johnson.
The memory of those fellas I never will forget. They were quite a team. We used to have a lot of fun, and then there were some sad days too, but there was always sun shining someplace. So that's what we looked forward to, the big days, best days.
A fellow in Denver had an automobile, a brand new automobile. It was a Page, a Graham Page, a beautiful thing. So he put 9 of us in his car and took us down to Wichita. Went to Wichita. We played in the tournament in Wichita. But who won the tournament was Bismarck. Bismarck had Satchel Paige, Double Duty Radcliffe, Hilton Smith, Quincy Troop. They had some great ball players on that ball club, see? And we didn't have a chance to beat them. Chet Brewer pitched on that ball club. So they won the tournament. But got to get home, nowhere to go, so I called Mama. Told her, said, tell Papa I want to come home. Okay. It was 2 of us, the other youngster from Sarasota, and they sent us 2 tickets, train tickets, no money, 2 tickets. I had 75 cents. We took that money and took that 75 cents, got on the train on the way to Sarasota, and the first time we had any food after we left Wichita was in Chattanooga. But anyway, we got home. When I got home, I tell you, I ate so much, my mother cried. I slept 2 days. Said, Mama, I'll never leave again. Never. This is in 35. 36. When they start throwing that ball, I'm ready to go again.
Hmm. 1983? That was, I mean, it's totally possible that this was shot earlier, and then, you know, they got final funding to release it in 83. I'm not sure, but great stories, great footage. James Earl Jones ties it all together. Thanks for joining us for that. And so let me say some thank yous. Thank you, Rocket Queen, for donating via ko-fi.com/avgeeks. That was a very nice donation of coffee. Also, School Films donated that way. And Jeremy donated via the Super Thanks button. So thank you. All that money is going to go probably pay for storage unit rentals. I mean, we'll buy coffee for it, but it'll be cheap coffee so we can pay for these other things. The other thing is, this showed up in the mail today, and it says, surprise free mystery film day. I found this at an old flea market last weekend. I've seen it, and well, I thought you would enjoy it. Robert Patrick. So we're going to watch that tomorrow. I do not have a copy of this film, and I'm very excited to watch it. So there's your dangling for tomorrow. Thanks again so much for watching and commenting. Very much appreciate your eyeballs and your comments. And yeah, please rewind, love each other, and I will see you tomorrow on what's tomorrow? Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. Everybody take care.